This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. It was a nightmare.
Flight 807, you're clear for landing. Runway 7, Bravo.
All personnel report to the nearest tornado shelter. This is not a drill.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with your host Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, I'll give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. So let's waste no time, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 1. A lot of local entrepreneurs making some big news, making big headlines. Michael Gibson is just one of many local entrepreneurs making headlines. His work as a tourist earned him a spot on the new Discovery Plus TV show, which already earned him first page news, or front page news, and a spot in the top 8 headlines and developing news stories this week. Rich Wetzel of Fresh Made 3D, located in Youngstown, in the Youngstown Business Incubator, has also made headlines. The locally based company is not only being bought by a suburban firm out of Pittsburgh, but has been really impacting the 3D market. Dan Fernback of Juggerbot 3D in downtown Youngstown has also made some headlines because he and his 3D team could possibly solve America's housing shortage, according to a local article. Now, although 3D printing is still in its beginning stages, it looks like a sure investment that could revolutionize a number of industry models. These stories are still developing. Congratulations on the Youngstown entrepreneurs making big news. Story number 2, YSU having decreased enrollment issues. So enrollment is declining. Now, YSU looks to be making some changes by adjusting the academic needs of the university. The university also made headlines in a move to possibly downsize staff with buyouts. Now, at the moment, the separation and retirement program will be voluntary. The bulk of the problem seems to be a decline in enrollment at YSU. The university has seen its ups and downs in the coming years, and it looks to prepare for the future of education, especially when it comes to academics and colleges catching up to the wave of technology that has really advanced education and really taken a toll on enrollment at a lot of community colleges that used to be thriving back in the day. So look at this story number 2. That's why I made it this week. Story number 3. Will more cameras in school zones stop speeding violations? Good question. It appears that residents are a bit upset with the city's lack of awareness when it comes to speeding in local school zones. Youngstown has a history of drivers not obeying the basic laws put in place to protect other citizens. Now, this article surfaced last week, and we are almost headed into the summer school program season. Cameras may be the only solution to this problem. This story reflects safety concerns from a bus accident that took place. It actually took the life of an East High student some time back. Now, it is important to note that East High School was mentioned in the report, along with a few other local schools, as high-speed violation continues in these areas. So this is they're trying to draw awareness to this fact. Now, the truth is that no area or parent wants to lose a child in a preventable car accident. That is why this story made it in this week. Please try to keep an eye on students when you're in those school zones. When you see those blinking lights, please slow down. That's why story number 3 made it in this week. Story number 4. Youngstown firefighters turned down a new contract. Youngstown Firefighters Union turned down a 3-year contract with 1% annual raises in it, which also included a 1.225% pandemic lump sum and bonuses in the first 2 years, 2 or 3 years. I think it was the first 2 years. Now, City Law Director Jeff Libyan is looking for more time. He says this will give them more time before the decision is made. Now this made front page news. This article made the Vindicator, and that's what bumped the story in. Now, firefighters have been in quite a few headlines in 2020, and not just in Youngstown. Local firefighters have had to step up their game due to a shortage of EMT workers and have been very, very busy lately and compared to other firefighters in the United States. Now, the number of fires that have been in local headlines lately have been very consistent compared to other areas. That includes the whole United States. So they're looking for a better contract and a better deal to lead them into the future of firefighting and saving lives. That's why story number 4 made it in. Story number 5. Youngstown Police Department, YPD, making big moves to get a grip on violence in the city. The Youngstown Police Department, the YPD, has pulled out some old tricks out of its crime unit playbook, but this time it involves late night violent hotspots in the community, mainly the South Side. Now, some years back, a similar program involving various law enforcement forces that even included the highway patrol was introduced. This was at one time, which shows you how hard it is for the city of Youngstown to tackle its crime problems. 5 patrolmen have been assigned for the task of patrolling Youngstown's South Side, where most of the crime has been taking place. Now, one local article even gives numbers in a front page report stating that 20% of criminals in the city commit 70% of the crimes, according to Police Chief Carl Davis, who believes that removing these criminals will reduce violent crimes in the city, with violent crime rates, period. Now, with social media, neighborhood watch groups have been able to communicate more effectively, but it still hasn't been enough. Now, at the moment, residents just want to live in a safe environment with peace. Now, the headline that got this story in was published May 1st by the Vindicator, and the program started a day later. So far things have been a little calm. So let's see how this story develops. That's why story number 5 made it this week. Story number 6. New virus cases reported by local facilities show a different outlook when it comes to COVID-19. Now, ever since local facilities, including nursing homes, started mass testing, they have all been seeing an unusual up and down pattern of cases, especially at nursing homes. Now, in a majority of these facilities, residents and workers have caught the virus and moved on back to their daily lives, while also testing negatives in return when tested again. Now, this trend has been reported in other facilities as well, but overall, there are still mixed reviews when it comes to the concern about the seriousness of COVID-19. Now, with doubts circulating about the vaccine and many local facilities still on high alert, a lot of Americans, including Ohioans, seem to be losing trust in the decisions that medical professionals are taking when they are talking about this virus. That's why story number 6 almost made it to the top 2 this week. Story number 7 in the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Let's get it out. Will money fix local schools? Put some money on it. Liberty residents shot down a $2.5 million 5-year permanent improvement levy. It was shot down by 24 votes. Now, if the levy would have passed, the city would have used the money to make some needed repairs to school facilities. Now, Mahoning County schools have taken a total, besides a levy, of $335 million in federal aid money, which has been used for COVID-19 protection and other needs for cleaner, safer buildings with updated technology. But with the main talking point in this story, the biggest talking point from observers critiquing and current education systems, they're critiquing it. They're saying that if all of the money being thrown at the schools could be used for what the tax levies could be used for, maybe something could get done, if this could fix the problem. But only time will tell how this federal money will be used. There's been a lot of federal money thrown at the schools, but will money fix the problems? Will it get the school systems, even Youngstown, out of a failing grade? That's why story number 7 is still developing, it's staying alive. That's why it made it to the top 2. Story number 8 in the top local headline and developing news story that made it this week. I've got good stories, bad stories, rich stories, poor stories, violent stories, peaceful stories, just about every type of story there is. Mayor Jamel Tito Brown wins the Democratic primary for Youngstown mayoral race. Mayor Jamel Tito Brown will be headed into the general election, facing some huge obstacles to get reelected. Now, one key talking point in this story is low voter turnout for the primaries that occurred in Youngstown. Now, what that means when it comes to the morale and faith in politics, struggling structure to manage Youngstown remains unknown. So with the voters not showing up to the polls for the primaries, that means that maybe Youngstown is just either losing faith in politics, or they just didn't know, so they just didn't show up. But Tito Brown still managed to win. And his challengers were very, very disappointed, especially Julius Oliver. Now, the city faces a dwindling population. This is what Tito Brown has to face. They face a dwindling population, high crime rates, infrastructure issues, education decline, and high poverty rates due to a lack of high-paying jobs. These are just some of the facts and only that are in place for Tito, and only time will tell if the current mayor, Jamel Tito Brown, has a plan to fix these problems headed into the general election. So let's see how this story develops, and that's why story number 8 made it to the top this week. Those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories. You're in the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment. And don't forget to show some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something. You can also sponsor a program as well. That's www.method8inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Happy Mother's Day. Shout out to my mother. I remember the first time I disobeyed my mother. I took her car, went out on the town, and tried to impress the girls. And when I got home, Paya! Smacked me right in the face. Oh, damn! Sister came over. Brother, you got knocked up. Out! I was laid out. My mother smacked me. Showed me who to respect in the house. I got up and I bowed down and worshiped the throne of Lisa West, because she let me know that mother, throughout it all, is boss. And that's my Mother's Day story. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. And I'm sticking to it. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Is America losing its work ethic? Oh, boy. Now, talk is circulating about the current work ethic of each American generation. And most of this talk is not good. People are getting lazy. That's what the talk is about. COVID-19 has gutted America's working class, period. Employers say they need help, but Americans aren't applying. Now, some can't even pass a drug test, causing a worker shortage, while demand for goods is at an all-time high. Factories and skilled labor are being hit the hardest in this report. Now, in the end, the shortage could cost the U.S. economy up to $1 trillion by 2030. The story is still developing. That's why I made it this week. Story number 2. How do we judge Biden on foreign policy so far? are. Hillary Clinton believes there will be some huge consequences once the United States troops leave Afghanistan. Now, she stressed the potential collapse of Kabul and the takeover of the Taliban, along with the resurgence of global terrorism, according to a Fox News report. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, he told CBS's 60 Minutes that just because the military is leaving doesn't mean that the U.S. is totally done with Afghanistan. He stressed the fact that the U.S. Embassy is still in Afghanistan and supports the region the support in the region will continue. Now, even after his report surfaced, after his report surfaced, Al Qaeda is still making threats against America, according to multiple reports. Now, ever since the U.S. announced its withdrawal from the region of Afghanistan, there has been an uptick in violence, according to some BBC reports. Now, last week, a car bomb exploded and killed 30 people. Story number 3: how can America revive the middle class? People are hurting out there. Now, after years of losing support for catering to special interest groups, Democrats are trying to keep the majority in D.C., trying to keep control, but they will have to focus on ways to support and keep the middle class happy, the working man. Now, many well-informed voters have left the party and either switched to independent or Republican because of the party's current stance when it comes to the real conservative issues and the American dream, American workers, American people. Now, at the moment, Joe Biden's approval rating seems to be holding steady, with the majority of Americans approving of the job he is doing, but there is still silence and disagreements about an abundance of proposals aimed at bigger government spending and more taxes on the rich, while working class citizens are still having trouble in the midst of the pandemic. Now, working class Americans are stuck in the middle either way. Now, this is in a plan that is based around having everyone pay their fair share, according to the president's words. Now, the question at the end of the day is, how will we revive the middle class? Well, how will this administration revive the middle class when there are already so many incentives for those who are not employed? So how do you get those who are not employed to employment and to contribute to the middle class working force? This is all taking place in story number 3, and that's why I made it this week. Story number 4: will Biden's plan hurt or harm America in the long run? That's a good question. An analysis report by CNN puts the focus on the mesmerizing effect that Trump had and still has on his base, even after he's out of office. Now, the report's main talking point is how we have to focus on the now when looking at who is the current president, basically leaving the past behind us and focus on the present. Now, because this seems to be pulling Americans away from the real issues, stuff that doesn't matter. We have to get focused on the current present time. Now, what analysts are also looking at is Biden's plan, which equals out to large amounts of government spending, which both presidents did when they got in office. They both had to spend some money, federal money. Trump's plan to cut taxes had wages set up to rise. Now, and the economy shifted in his favor, but the poor and working class still had mixed opinions about how long the former president's economic miracle would have went on, even with his plans, if he would have gotten 4 more years. Then COVID-19 hit, and Trump lit the fuel to accelerate the vaccine process to stop the spread. He accelerated it. Now, but the federal deficit still ballooned more deeper into the red under each administration, not just Trump's, but it seems to be happening under each administration. Now, with Biden in his first 100 days, the deficit is still rising, and his party seems to be pulling old tricks out of the Democratic playbook. Now, at the moment, each party is still divided when it comes to spending, and skeptics have their fingers crossed for the long haul, while wondering if Biden's plan will hurt or harm America. Story number 4, that's why I made it this week. Whew. Mediation is tough. Well, those are our top 4 stories. I'll be right back with the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. So don't go anywhere. You're on The Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. It's method8inc.com. Method8inc.com where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. All the mothers out there, I can give you a dance. How about that? Oh, the Mother's Day dance. Let's get it. Ooh. Let's get to it. Story number 5. Happy Mother's Day. Experts weigh in on Joe Biden's plan to subsidize child care. Speaking of mothers, child care, Joe Biden plans to help out. Now, experts feel that Joe Biden's plan to subsidize child care has no safety net and will cause price increases in the long run. The plan proposes spending up to $225 billion on child care. I tell you what, Joe, just give it to Lisa West, my mom. She'll spend the money. She'll go get her a plant and sit on the front porch and listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire all day. That's what she enjoys to do in her spare time, and drink a glass of wine. If you want to do that for my mom, I'm sure 100 moms in the world would probably continue to vote for anybody who shows them some love. What experts are looking at is the long-term effects that America may not be able to keep up with financially in Joe Biden's plan. The article then goes on to compare the subsidies to college subsidies and all these other subsidies that Joe Biden plans on doing to help out and put government spending everywhere. Now, they're all saying that this will eventually raise spending in the long run and will eventually cost mothers, daughters, children, in the long run, cost us money. Story number 6. Will money save America's problems? Money. America, don't let money change you. Almighty dollar. Attorney General Merrick Garland asked Congress for more than $35 billion to fix the justice system. The money would be used to enforce civil rights, prosecute domestic terrorism, invest in community policing, and boost funding for victims of sexual violence. Now, overall, if you add up the cost of government spending over the years, the numbers are off of the charts. The federal deficit keeps growing, and after every 4 years, each administration throws more money at the problems. Now, the cost of COVID-19 added to wars in the Middle East alone could have rebuilt just about every bridge and major roadway in America, and probably has some money left over. Story number 6. That's why I made it to the top 3 stories this week. Money gets frightening. Oh, it's somewhere around here, but I don't have it. Could I get some? That's why story number 6 made it in this week. Story number 7 in the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Step right up. I got news for you. Stories to heal, stories to thrill, and stories to fill your cup of love on Mother's Day. Oh, I remember like it was yesterday, going to prom and Mama was there, fixing my tie, making me look good, trying to make me smile. Mama, oh, I love you, Mama. You're the fruit of my soul. Oh, Mama's Day, baby. Mother's Day. If you like it. If you love it. Why are so many people attacking government institutions and authorities? These are mama's babies that have grown up and are governing the people. Mama's babies. Some of them are even mothers now. Now, in the past few years, there have been more attacks on government institutions and authorities. The number one question is why, and how does it stop? Do we need a whooping? A ass whooping from mama to stop us from violating the laws? One report by USA Today details how an armed man was shot by federal agents after a standoff outside a CIA headquarters. This report shows the new real issue that America faces when it comes to recent attacks on government institutions. These are people, mama's babies, working for the government, and people want to kill them. If these stories keep up, folks, and more crime is geared towards government, this could be detrimental to the future of American homeland security and put Americans under an increased surveillance state, adding on to a system already in place. Story number 8 in the top international headline and developing news story that made it this week. Woo-wee! Woo! We did it! We did it! We made it to the top, mama. We did it. All for you, Mom. That's what it's all about. Could Biden's plan to tax the rich backfire? Oh boy. Biden's economic advisor says that Biden's plan to tax the rich and corporations are put in place so that everyone pays their fair share. Biden has gone on the record by stating that he firmly believes that trickle-down economics does not work. Now, experts are all over Biden's plan, especially on child care, because if Biden's plan is carried out, we could see capital gain tax rates double, according to one report. Now, this could also prove that his plan could backfire in the long run, meaning we'll have to pay for it in the end. Whew. That's not good. Now, the key talking point in this top headline is what ripple effect will occur when you tax the rich and corporations that are the bread providers for almost every aspect of the average citizen's daily life. And that's why story number 8 made it to the top this week. What will we do when we have enough to give to everybody, but we don't have enough to give to everyone, especially if they're not Americans? The poetry in this is deep. If you have one flower and you give it to one mother, you better be prepared, because there's a lot of mothers in line that want that flower. But how much will the businessman charge? And how much government aid can the government give if you can't afford those flowers? And that's the math inside of story number 8. Well, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news and international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. As usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, the media, the journalists, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit, and the mothers. I'm just a mediator. I'd like to thank you for watching. I hope you all, if you want to show some support here, it doesn't take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. I go through 200 or more stories just for you to keep you informed. And this show was special to me because as I see my grandmother and my mom get older, and I remember the lifelong lessons, and I see all the mothers out there doing the best they can with the hand that they've been dealt. It means a lot to me, and I hope it means a lot to the world. Show love this Mother's Day. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to The Mediator with me, Brian West. Happy Mother's Day. Peace.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.